It's my home.
So
Thank you.
I think with that, I will turn it over to Paula Lee with the League of Women Voters.
Thank you, Maggie. And good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Everyone here tonight, the neighborhood associations online, I hope they can make it. And thank you to Access Sacramento for recording this event, which if the online people don't make it, they'll be able to see it recorded. Tonight is the candidate forum for United States Congressional District 7. I'm Paula Lee, a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento, and I'll be the moderator. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit, all-volunteer organization of women and men. Our mission is to encourage the active participation of people in government through education and advocacy, and we do not support or oppose or evaluate candidates or political parties. However, we do take positions on public policy issues such as ballot measures and legislation, and we do that based on our thorough studies and our consensus process. We invite all of you to check out the League of Women Voters of Sacramento and join us. Thank you. Well, hey, well, I appreciate that clapping for us, but you know, I'm going to have some rules about clapping. I'm going to give you an opportunity to clap one more time before we start, okay? And then it'll be snapping after that. Yesterday, August 26th, was Women's Equality Day. That marked the ratification of the 19th Amendment, which gave women the right to vote, some women. Oh. Just one more time when I tell you.
Let me get it out of our system.
Yeah. Now, 106 years later, believe it or not, women still do not have parity in Congress, the People's House. So we are really lucky here in District 7. And we're very happy to welcome two very accomplished women tonight and thank them for serving in public office and for running for Congress. Doris Matsui and Mai Vang. Now you can clap. Snapping from now on till the very end. Doris Matsui and Mai Vang are here tonight to meet you and to answer some of your questions. We received over 120 questions, comments, long letters. Yes, a lot of voters had a lot to say. So I'll know you understand if your question isn't asked exactly. Know that we tried to get all the issues and the themes and avoid redundancy. We drew cards tonight for speaking order. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. They'll have 1.5 minutes to answer the questions, and I'll ask the questions in alternating order. After each candidate has answered the questions, either candidate has the option to briefly respond if they choose, and that'll be up to 20 seconds. There's timers right here. Can you see those timers? They're in the dark, aren't they?
It's dark.
It's dark. It's like
you know,
really
it is
bright.
dark.
Everything's in our eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and mine too. I can't even see them.
Yeah.
So I think for tonight, you guys will have to stand up. I think, and you'll just have to watch for them standing. I think that, and please do watch. Then we're going, after I ask the candidates the questions that have been submitted, the questions, the candidates will be posing questions to each other, either 1 or 2 questions, depending on how much time we have, and they'll also have an opportunity to respond if they want to. And then we'll have closing statements. Closing statements are 1.5 minutes. There's the timekeepers. They're going to stand up. I think that'll work just fine, and they'll let the candidates know when they have 30 seconds left and when they need to stop. And you'll see the sign up, the stop sign up, until you can just finish your sentence, and that's it. We won't cut you off, but just finish your sentence if you see that stop sign. Now, Thank you again, candidates, for being here tonight and meeting these voters and answering questions. We begin with opening remarks from Doris Matsui.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and I want to thank, a phone.
It's not mine.
We'll wait. My goodness. Okay.
Don't start our timer yet. Okay, we begin with opening remarks from Doris Matsui.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and I want to thank the League of Women Voters, the co-sponsors, and everyone who is here this evening. You know, I never stop fighting to make sure your voices are heard in the halls of Congress. And as a result, I brought back billions of dollars in order to make sure that you're safe and you're secure, and you also have an opportunity to make sure that your life is better. Unlike my opponent, I delivered on the promise to make your lives better. I never stopped fighting for more change. The levy protections that I improved safety, absolutely improved safety, and brought down the cost of insurance, flood insurance, and also made possible the attraction of building hospitals, affordable housing, and also now even a stadium at the rail yards. And I have never devoted more and more in everything else but health care, universal health care. I helped pass the Affordable Care Act, which covered, what does that mean? 30 seconds to go? Wow, okay. Okay, I helped pass the Affordable Care Act, which covered 100,000 people in this region. I fought relentlessly to repeal Trump's cuts to health care and to nutrition, and I've led the fight to make sure that we fight back on Trump's cuts, and also to make sure that we get more, you know, your little things called this, to get lower health care costs and also prescription drug costs. Over 50 million people have already because of the Affordable Care Act, 50 million people have already benefited from it. And I really feel that it's time for really look at what has to happen in this district and all over the country. Thank you.
Mai Vang.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today, and those who are streaming at home, it's really great to be in space with community. My name is Mai Vang, and I am the proud daughter of Hmong refugees. I'm a teacher, a city council member, I'm a mom, and my husband is a son to Mexican immigrants. This November, you will get a chance on your ballot to choose between two options. Two visions for the future. One by an established politician who created the conditions for what we have today, and two, our vision for a new generation of leaders. I'm running for Congress because I understand the struggles of so many of our working families in Sacramento, in Elk Grove, Lodi, Gulf, all the way to El Dorado. I still live in the same neighborhood that I grew up in South Sacramento. And my husband and I know what it feels like to actually struggle to pay your bills. Doris Matsui is a billionaire, and she doesn't understand the struggles facing our families in this moment. Politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, who are bought by corporations, have left so many of us behind. I am the only person on the stage that has taken a position for Medicare for all. Congresswoman Doris Matsui has not. She has 21 years to lead on this issue, but she's backed by Big Pharma and health insurance company. I am the only person on the stage that has called what is happening in Gaza a genocide. Congresswoman Doris Matsui has continued to fund military funding for Israel and is backed by AIPAC. I am the only person on the stage that has committed to signing a moratorium on data centers. Doris Matsui has not, and it's actually her campaign is funded by those very companies. It is so important that we have bold and courageous leaders in this moment to champion working families. I'm excited to build on the momentum from the primaries, and I look forward to the conversation and the debate tonight with Congresswoman Doris Matsui, and I hope to earn your vote this November.
Seriously, it just eats into all of our time for questions, please.
Do I only have 20 seconds to respond to all of that?
That was just an opening remark, but
Okay.
you can respond throughout the evening. We have lots of opportunities.
Great, good, because there's a lot of
Yes.
things I want to respond to here. There are a lot of misperceptions.
You'll have those opportunities.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, Mai Vang, first question. Congress is not providing constitutional checks and balances on the executive branch of government. Hearings don't appear to be enough. Subpoenas are ignored. Federal departments serving millions of Americans are hobbled, and judicial decisions disobeyed. What can you do in Congress to ensure our federal budget is spent and departments are funded as directed by Congress?
Well, thank you so much, Paula, for that question. Look, when I become your Congresswoman, the first 100 days, I'm going to work aggressively with my colleagues to restore all the cuts that has happened under this administration. And I have shared this in my opening that I truly believe that established politicians, both Democrats and Republicans, who are funded by corporations, created the conditions for what we have today. We can talk about the executive branch, electeds in Congress and Senate, the Supreme Court. We have so much money in politics, and we have to do everything we can to actually get money out of politics. I support overturning Citizens United. I support banning congressional stock trading among elected officials. And I really think in this moment, we need campaign finance reform. We can champion and talk about any issue in this country, but if we don't get money out of politics, if we don't abolish super PACs, if we don't overturn Citizens United, it's going to be incredibly hard. But I know there's a movement across this country to want to change and reform our campaign finance system. And so I look forward to working on this issue when I become your next Congresswoman.
Doris Matsui, you can answer this question, and then after this, both of you answer the question. Each one of you, if you'd like to respond further, clarify something, expound on something.
But there's a lot
You'll
to
have-
clarify here, though.
Yeah, you have to do it a little bit at a time in 20-second increments, but it's your turn to answer that question. Do you want me to repeat it?
Please.
Sure, no problem. Congress is not providing constitutional checks and balances on the executive branch. Hearings don't seem to be enough. Subpoenas are ignored. Millions of Americans, departments serving millions of Americans are hobbled, and judicial decisions are disobeyed. What can you do in Congress to ensure our federal budget is spent and departments are funded as directed by Congress?
Well, first of all, we win back the House of Representatives. That's absolutely crucial. And when we win back the House of Representatives, we make sure that we have experienced leadership there. I get a gavel when I win this time. And so therefore, we can actually put out subpoenas and have them really obey them. We can also make sure that all the committees at the same time have oversight hearings. We can do all that, but we have to win the House of Representatives. I would tell you one thing. This is not a position where you inherit committees. You have to fight for it. It's very difficult to get on the committees that you want to get on. You have to fight for it. You have to have relationships. You have to understand the process. When I get there this time, and next time if there's possible, I'm going to make sure that we decide to fight in the way we can fight with subpoenas, oversight hearings, and making sure that the administration understands what it means to be the one who decides where the money goes. I understand that, and I will certainly make sure that that happens.
Okay, now you have a response, Mai Vang?
Yeah, I do have a response because the congressman talked about seniority. Look, if seniority would have saved us, we wouldn't be here today under the Trump administration. You have seniority now, and the lives of people in our region hasn't gotten better. This moment is really about the type of experience we want. Do we want the type of experience that will maintain the status quo, or do we want the type of experience that will actually go in to transform the system?
Your turn.
You know what? I think you don't quite understand how Congress works, because you just can't go in there and decide to do something. You really have to build the relationships and build coalitions to do this. And understand, you know, we were under a Trump administration, and that's what we have right now. They have the Supreme Court, he has the White House, and he's got Congress. So when we get the gavels, and that's something that everybody has to understand, we get the gavels, we have power. We can do things, and that's what we have to do.
Well, my response to that is, look, Democrats have lost to Trump twice. And there's been a time where we had the House, the Senate, the executive, and we didn't take that moment to transform this country and fight for Medicare for all. It is about asking the voters right now in this country, what type of Democrats do you want to go back to transform this country? And it's not me alone. There is a cohort of generation of leaders who was elected in the primaries. We're having conversation now about having transformational change in this country. And I look forward to working with my colleagues to make sure we get that done.
Universal health care is something we can all agree on. Medicare for all is a pathway for that, but it costs a lot of money. I have been working on health care for a long time. We went through Medicare for all. I'm going to look at that again because we have other ways to do this, but understand, we cannot use Medicare for all just as a slogan.
Can I respond? Can I respond
Yes,
to
but
that?
this question is on this
Okay.
topic, so I think I'll just go ahead with the question.
Paula, really quick. The live stream is up.
Wonderful. Welcome.
Hi,
Welcome.
everyone who's streaming.
Welcome to the live stream to the neighborhood associations. We're glad you could join us. You didn't miss too much, and that you missed you can see recorded tomorrow. So we're on our second question, and this is for Doris Matsui. Hot topic, definitely. The U.S. has the most expensive, we've heard it for years, healthcare system in the world, with the worst outcomes when compared with other developed countries. Voters know this is a huge problem. However, the talked about remedies are terms voters may not understand. Do you support a national single-payer health insurance program covering all residents like Medicare for all? But can you briefly explain how this would work for people who do not understand what Medicare for all means and why it is different from universal health care?
Well, let me just say this. Universal health care we have many pathways for universal health care. Medicare for all is one of them, and it's probably the most narrow path too. If you look at all the healthcare systems that we understand, like Canada or the UK, and there are just pieces of what we could do. There is part of it the government pays for, and the specialties, they have their own insurance. And I've been working on healthcare for a long time. We had the Affordable Care Act. We did that, and we had a public option. For us, that was the gateway for universal health care. But the Senate, in their, I wouldn't call it wisdom, threw it out. So we have this opportunity now to look at universal health care and not just Medicare for all, because that is the most narrow system there is. And also, you have to consider the expense of it. What happens if the government has to pick up everything? What happens also if we have people in our client and our constituents who really want to keep their own health care? Those are the questions that we have to ask.
Our current health system is broken. It is incredibly broken. We live in the richest state in the richest country in the world, yet we can't provide health care for our residents in this country. I've spoken to so many families across our region that has delayed medical care because of their high premiums. And we know that one of the top reasons why family file bankruptcy is because of medical debt. There was a recent study that just came out of Yale that showed that if we had Medicare for all in this country, we would save $1 trillion. We would save over 114,000 lives. And yeah, the question is, Mai, how would we pay for it? My answer is we're paying for it now. We have the most expensive healthcare system in the world, and we have the worst health outcomes. Medicare for all, I think what we need to do is we need to be able to expand it and provide that option. At the end of the day, the only winners when we talk about healthcare are the big insurance companies that actually back my opponent. And so they won't move with a sense of urgency. Politicians who are backed by big pharma and health insurance company won't move with a sense of urgency to make sure that we provide that care. And that's the reason why I support Medicare for all.
Let me just say that Medicare for all is not a panacea. We have not studied it enough. And I'm also looking at the Canada way, the UK way. Single payer is the option here. We can do it, but we have to think about what it does for our budgets. It's really easy, and I understand, because but healthcare is so expensive, and it doesn't cover everything we need, and we get frustrated with it. But let's not change the system right now when we still have to fight Trump and all these cuts to Medicare and Medi-Cal.
Watch for the stop signs, candidates. Mai Vang.
Can I respond to
Oh,
that?
yeah, sure.
The
Go ahead.
Congresswoman just said that we shouldn't be focused on changing the current system. That's what I'm focused on. As your next Congresswoman, that is of utmost importance. Fighting Trump is going in to actually change the system, and I look forward to working with my colleagues to make sure that we do that. And we will only get a window to do that when we win back in 2028. If we get the President, the House, and the Senate, we have to make sure that we have bold reforms.
Excuse me. We will not get there in 28 unless we take the House back in 26. And that means you have to have experienced, effective people who are leading the charge there. Otherwise, what's going to happen is that everything will go the way it is now with Trump. You need somebody in there, people in there who understand what they're doing, because Trump is in power for 2 years. And we need to be engaged and be able to stop him. But if you get somebody in there who doesn't understand and make sure that they really don't understand, and honestly, we really do have to investigate further what Medicare for All is.
I have a suggestion on the timing because it is really impossible to see you. Maybe we could use your phone and have the alarm go off. I heard somebody's alarm go off, and that might be helpful. You might try it.
I have a suggestion. Could one of them sit right here? I think it's closer to us and show. Would that be okay?
Yeah, because
Yeah, it doesn't
I
really
can
matter.
see you.
I think they should sit right here, and then they could. So we'll see it.
Okay, well, there's 3 of them.
That's fine. 3 chairs right here.
Were there
and
3?
Yeah.
We couldn't even see the
If someone
third
can
one.
bring 3 chairs, that would
Yeah,
be great. Yeah, that way we can see you. Yeah, it is really hard to see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is difficult for you. I'm sorry.
Well, also the light is right in our eyes.
Right.
But that means, okay, then I have to look that way then.
Yeah, did you want them right there?
No, we're fine. We're fine.
Okay, we're reconvening. And the next question,
Oh, Paula, I like to respond because the Congresswoman is talking about experience. Can I
okay,
get 20
this is
seconds?
a 20-second response.
Yeah. Since we're talking about experience, I'm actually 3 years older than Bob Matsui when he was first elected to Congress. And we're talking about governing experience. I'm walking in with 10 years of governing experience, 20 years of policy advocacy experience. When Doris Matsui stepped into that seat, she had no governing experience. We start somewhere, and I'm walking in with that experience. And so this argument about I don't have the experience, I am older than Bob Matsui when he ran for Congress, and I have more governing experience than the Congresswoman when she first stepped in.
May I respond to that?
Yes, you can.
I worked in the White House for 6 years. That is probably the best experience you can get as far as Washington goes. And don't bring Bob Matsui into this discussion. We are talking about the race now.
Okay, Mai Vang.
Yeah, I am just responding because you're critiquing about someone who's not having, someone who doesn't have experience. And so what I'm sharing is that it's not about just my age of being, actually I'm not that young, I'm actually 41 years old, but that I am actually 3 years older than Bob Matsui if it's about the age. Oftentimes we get critique as young people that we're not ready and prepared to actually govern, but we are, because we are gonna have to inherit the policy decision that your folks made, and we're gonna have to carry those
Now you
decisions.
need to look over there.
Thank you.
Okay, Mai Vang, how can Congress reassert the War Powers Authority and hold the executive branch accountable for unauthorized military engagements and the violation of international law? What are your views on the Iran war funding and military budgeting in the next Congress?
Yeah. As a daughter of Hmong refugees, I understand the generational trauma of war and the cost of lives because of war and the displacement of so many families. My foreign policy is really about centering human dignity and peace. And Trump is pulling us into an illegal war that we have spent billions of money. I have 2 baby brothers in the military. And I don't want to be sending my baby brothers really to fight his illegal wars. At the end of the day, when we talk about war, the only winners are weapon manufacturer companies that actually profit from the pain and suffering from war. I don't take any money from weapon manufacturers, from these companies that actually profit. My opponent does. And so she won't move with a sense of urgency to actually end endless wars. I am your anti-war candidate. We spend trillions of money on wars, and what we need to be doing is spending our tax dollars here right at home on systems of care, on education, on healthcare, and I look forward to doing that work.
My comment? I can't believe what you're doing because you're interpreting my Vanguard investments in my retirement plan. Those are Vanguard index, and we can't control what's in them. And you probably have the same investments too, as does everybody else around here who has retirement.
Let me respond to that. It's not just your investments, but it's actually corporations that actually funds your campaign, like Lockheed Martin. There are weapon manufacturer companies that actually fund your campaign.
Okay, Doris, would you like to answer the question, how can Congress reassert its war powers authority and hold the executive branch accountable for the unauthorized military engagements and the violation of international law? And again, what are your views on Iran war funding and the military budgeting in the next Congress?
Okay. You know, we have brought the War Powers Resolution many times, and I know you don't want to hear this, but we don't have the gavels right now. We hold them accountable as much as we can, and we have hearings. But you know what? We do need our gavels. We need to be able to have the power to be able to do this. And right now, we really can't. I know you don't want to hear this, but it's true. We don't have the Congress, we don't have the White House, we don't even have the Supreme Court. So give us the gavels so we can do this.
Mai Vang, next question. Given
And
the-
also, too, the Iran war is illegal, absolutely illegal.
All right. Mai Vang, given the administration has violated civil rights and the liberties of our immigrant communities, what changes are necessary to ensure immigration enforcement practices are both, I'm sorry, this question is for Doris first. You first, Doris.
Oh, to repeat it
What
then?
what changes are necessary to ensure immigration enforcement practices are both lawful and accountable to the communities they impact? So if elected, would you support permanent legal protections for essential workers?
Absolutely. And let me just tell you, we need a pathway to citizenship that's honest and it's going to work. And we also need to figure out how we decide for the system. ICE is no longer what ICE is supposed to be. So we do have to dismantle it or destroy it or whatever and really figure out how we do this again. We need a system to make sure that immigration works. And I feel that we can be on a pathway if we decide that this is what we're going to be doing. And immigration has to be it's a positive thing for our country. You know, my grandparents were immigrants, and everything that I've learned from my parents and everyone else is the importance of being able to respect your country. They've always knew the opportunities in this country. They love this country, and they made sure they stood up and protected this country. And I feel the same way about the people coming to this country. Let's give them an opportunity. That's what we need to do.
Mai Vang?
Our current immigration system is broken. We are no longer closer to pathway to citizenship. We are no longer closer to reunification of our families. This topic actually hits incredibly personal to me because I am a daughter of Hmong refugees. I am married to a son of Mexican immigrants, and I have family members who wake up every morning afraid if they're going to be detained, kidnapped, and separated by ICE. Just last month, I accompanied my uncle at the Moss building, afraid if ICE would take him. We have a rogue system, a police force, a rogue police force, secret police force for this administration that is kidnapping loved ones. And I have taken the position on abolishing ICE because we should not have a rogue agency that is kidnapping our loved ones based on the language they speak, where they work, and the color of their skin. Doris Matsui is actually funded by ICE contractors that actually are profiting from the detentions of babies and children. And I think that's really important to share that with all of you. Congresswoman, last debate during the primary, she said that ICE needed to be reformed, if you all recall that. On social media now, she says now ICE needs to be dismantled. I hope that I can get her to join us in making the statement of abolishing ICE, because ICE didn't exist before 2003. We are still a country of rules, and we can still have enforcement, because this is not about actually the borders or enforcement. This is about terrorizing our refugee and immigrant communities at the end of the day.
Response?
Well, let me just say, I believe that ICE is not what ICE should be today. We know that. It's really a rogue agency. Trump is running this rogue agency, and it should be demolished. But when we think about immigration, when we get the power back, we have to set it up right for immigration, so we have the pathway for citizenship. And by the way, I don't profit from contractors and things like that. As I said before, My retirement is all in
It's 20
index funds.
seconds.
Can I respond to that? If you actually look at your campaign contributions, you actually accept contributions from companies doing business with ICE.
You know what? I would tell you this, that I am somebody who was born in an internment camp with working class parents. I know the struggle of that. And so I have always aligned myself with working class parents. And so if you think I'm a corporate person, no. I'm supported by working class unions. They know who I am. They stand behind me.
20 seconds.
You know, this comment is not just about Congresswoman Doris Matsui, but it's really about politicians that are bought by corporations. Really, at the end of the day, if your campaign is funded by a corporate credit card, you literally do have debt to pay. You won't move with a sense of urgency to address issues like Medicare for all, ending endless wars, or closing these detention centers. We're talking about, right now, modern day internment. These are the detention centers, private detention centers, that are profiting off of the separations of our families.
Mai Vang. You guys, this isn't working either. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm talking this way, and I have to go this way.
I know,
and
it is.
Did the alarm work?
I didn't hear the alarm.
No. Okay, this one is for Mai Vang. This question, next question. What actions will you take in Congress to address climate change, and what actions have you already taken in your respective elected offices?
Yeah. As we're talking about climate change, you know, I am no stranger to environmental justice, especially growing up in South Sacramento, experiencing bad air quality and also heat island. As a city councilwoman, I've been really proud to really champion many issues, sitting on our air quality board, making sure that we plant more trees, making also sure that we do everything we can to address air pollution in South Sacramento. I am no stranger to the injustice. At the end of the day, for me as a congresswoman, I think it's incredibly important that we make polluter pay for the injustices that they have caused. And so I know exactly the struggles of so many of our families that are facing this climate crisis. When I think about El Dorado in particular, making sure that we have stronger wildfire protection. I was speaking with actually a couple in El Dorado who had to sell their wedding rings because they couldn't afford their fire insurance. And so when we talk about climate issue, it absolutely impacts all of our working families. And so we have to do more to really address our climate crisis and actually make sure that polluters pay for the harm that they're causing.
Doris Matsui?
Yes, all the things we do in Sacramento, I think is fabulous. We're going to be the clean energy capital of the country. But what I'll say this is, I sit on the committees that actually do the policy that gets down to the local level. That's what I do. We say you should plant trees. We should make sure the air quality board is stronger. We've got all these already. And so I do the policy. I co-chair the Sustainable Energy and Environment Coalition. There's 100 very serious members there. I've also organized a 501c3 to that so we can bring in the academics, the environmentalists, and some of the corporate citizens that really want to help out. This is what we have to do. She's talking about the effects of all the funding that we have put forward to make sure that Sacramento goes along with what we want to do at the policy level.
Can I comment?
20 seconds.
Yeah,
Please watch.
there's policy and legislation on really doing a Green New Deal. I mean, it is a movement that's happening across the country. And I would fight with my colleagues to fund a Green New Deal, to transition our economy to clean energy and to make sure that we create good paying jobs. That is a platform right now, and the Congresswoman hasn't signed on to that. There are progressive colleagues of hers that have pushed for a Green New Deal.
Okay,
And I think
let me
that's
just
incredibly
say
important.
this.
It's a 20-second.
No, let me just say this. I have signed on the Green New Deal, and we've gotten far beyond that. Far beyond that. You should understand what we've been doing in the Congress to make sure, and California has been fighting back all the way, and we are the green energy capital.
How do you think it would work if you were standing there? Because I'm kind of feeling for the candidates. They need to talk to the audience, so they need to look that way, and then we're
And
asking.
I can't.
Yeah. Yeah, right at the end. I'm sorry. I think it will work better. Then you'll be able to see and you can look at the audience and the camera. Okay. Quiet, please. We're reconvening. Doris, first question is for you here. The Leahy Law prohibits U.S. assistance to foreign militaries when there is credible information that they have committed gross violations of human rights. This includes the State of Israel, whose ongoing human rights violations against Palestinians are well documented by multiple human rights organizations and the UN. The question is, should military support for Israel continue? Why or why not?
Okay, first of all, Netanyahu is a war criminal. And I voted against the Massey bill. It was an amendment to the Democratic Appropriations, Defense Appropriations Bill, which really does ban Israel funding there. And so let me just say this. I mean, this is something where we've talked about for a long time. And yes, there is a humanitarian disaster in Gaza, and Netanyahu bears some responsibility for that. But I would say this too, that I believe that people there really want to have peace. And what we need to do is figure out a way to make sure that we go toward peace. We want a place where Palestinians and Israelis can live side by side in peace. That's what this is all about. And that's what I intend to be doing.
Mai Vang?
My answer is no. Working families do not want war. They do not want their tax dollars aiding in Netanyahu's genocide. Our tax dollars should be spent on systems of care here at home, on healthcare, education, and on housing. Many voters actually want us to stop sending money to Israel. And it shouldn't have to take 75% of Americans for polling for the Congresswoman to actually finally vote no. Doris, again, takes money from the same weapon manufacturers that actually is committing this war and this genocide. And again, I have unapologetically called it a genocide because I have sat down and spoken to Palestinians, actually in our region, have lost generations of family. And there have legal scholars and the UN that have actually said that this is a genocide. And we have to be bold and brave in this moment to actually name what it is and what is happening.
Ready?
Well, I feel that this is a place where we have to understand that we can say that word over and over again. It doesn't bring us to a solution that we need here. They all want peace, and we got to get to a place where we can do that. When we start pointing fingers, people go into corners, and we can never bring people together. I don't want this war either. It's not our war. It's their war.
Can I respond to that?
20 seconds.
If we want peace, then we need to stop using our tax dollars to aid in a genocide, period. I think that's incredibly important, right? Like, nobody wants war, so let's make sure that that reflects our budget.
We are already, I've already taken the position, no offensive weapons for Israel, right? And I voted for the Massey Amendment. So, you know, this is something that if you don't understand what that really means, you can just say over and over again the same words.
So let me give you an example of a bill that you can actually sign on today, Block the Bombs Act. A strong delegation, actually from California, like Congresswoman Lofgren, have actually signed on to that bill. You have not yet signed on to that bill.
Okay, let me talk about that one.
Would you commit to signing to that bill today?
You know what? I saw that bill, and I believe in its meaning, but it's a message bill. I have another bill that's that bill, but it has as a sense that we can actually do something with it. So, you know, this is it. I mean, you don't just sign on to message bills all the time. You know, you do that because you want to set a pattern, right? Okay, they did that. But also, too, it's got to be a good bill that's going to pass.
One more.
One more response. Well, you should tell that to your colleagues who signed on to that bill. You should let them know it's a messaging bill. A strong delegation of Congress reps in California has signed on to that bill, and I would like to see my Congresswoman actually sign it. But she won't move with a sense of urgency because she's backed by AIPAC, and this lobby, right-wing lobby, has influence on our foreign policy.
I would say AIPAC does not support me. Understand that AIPAC doesn't support me. And
She has taken mass check from APAC.
Mai, this is a question for you. Sacramento continues to face high risk for floods, and other parts of the district face high risk of fire. What specific federal actions are needed to protect the region, and how would you secure the necessary resources? This is a question for both of you. Begin with Mai.
Yeah. As someone who lives in South Sacramento and have families that live throughout our region, public infrastructure is incredibly important. One, for connectivity. Two, making sure we protect our roads and our levees. That is of utmost importance. And as your next Congresswoman, I will work aggressively with my colleagues in the region to make sure that we continue to secure funding to protect our levees, for more wildfire protection. That is incredibly important for me. The question is really for me, when I think about flood, when I think about fire, is that who are we actually delivering for? Our flood insurance and fire insurance hasn't gone down for our working families. And Congresswoman Doris Matsui actually takes money from the same companies who are actually denying coverage to homeowners, but are still making profits every single year. And so yes, it's the bare minimum for congressional reps to work with our colleagues to secure money for the region, but we also have to ask who are we delivering for, and making sure we're doing everything we can to protect homeowners.
Doris?
Do I respond in 20 seconds to that?
No, you get a minute and a half.
Okay, great. You know, I have been involved with flood protections for a very long time. I think everybody knows that. We are probably the safest region in the country. I started with Katrina. I knew what happened there. And I had to work to really get together with the Corps of Engineers, the Bureau of Reclamation, and also the state and the locals to make sure that we had a plan to work out. This was a huge deal. Maybe some of you don't understand that. Huge deal. We had floods before. You know, historically we had floods, but we also had floods in '86 and I think it was '97. And that woke a lot of people up. So guess what? I went to work, and you have to work with people. You have to understand what floods mean, what the water is. You have to work with the Corps of Engineers and Bureau of Reclamation and the state and also jurisdictions too. That took a lot of time. I'm still committed to that. We have the best flood protection ever, but I'm still going forward with that. That job never ends. And with the atmospheric rivers that might be coming because of climate change, believe me, we have more challenges ahead. And I'll continue with that later.
Any response?
No response. Next
Okay.
question.
Could I say something then?
Sure.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, I really feel that infrastructure is really very important too. But this is something that's important for the region because not only has it saved a lot of areas, but it also allowed areas to really fully develop the way they wanted to develop. Natomas wouldn't be where they are today if it weren't for my flood protection. And you look up and down the American River, the Sacramento River. Those are the kinds of things that are happening today.
Okay, Doris, you're first on this question. Democracy is under attack and gerrymandering wars threaten voting rights across the country. The influence of big money in campaigns and in Washington has only increased. This is decreasing the voice and confidence of voters in the system. If we can't take money out of politics, what ideas do you have to address voter apathy and restore confidence in our system?
Well, you know, it's very difficult at this moment in time when there's a lot of anger. And I really believe that now's the moment that we all have to come together because this country is at risk. Our democracy is at risk. I love this country. You know, my parents were in internment camp. I was born in an internment camp. And they worked hard, and they had to prove themselves again. And yet, they did it. And that's what I feel about this country. It gives them the opportunity. We have to once again go back to where we were. We have to have better democracy now so people understand right away what it means to live in this country. We really have to make sure that young people understand they have to contribute too. And that's what it's all about. I mean, I really believe even in national service because in that way, people can give back to the community. This country is worth fighting for in the sense of making sure that we all move together. I'm afraid that if we don't do that, I see what has happened to the Republican Party. They do not move together at all. Now they're fighting each other.
Mai Vang?
Our democracy is stronger when everyone can participate. And look, Trump, he's losing. He's losing in this moment, and that's why he wants to limit our ability to vote. Every vote, every voice matters. Republicans, Democrats, and independents. It's so important to make sure that there's full participation. You know, before I was a city council member, I was actually a community organizer in South Sacramento with HIP, Hmong Innovating Politics. And I've been on the front line actually driving people to the vote centers and fighting to do more voter registration and expanding vote by mail. And especially the attacks that's happening right now, what you need is someone who has governing experience, but also is an organizer and know what actually it means to implement and actually turn people out to the polls. In Congress, as your Congresswoman, I will fight to protect voting rights, demand oversight if ICE ever comes near our polling locations, and champion the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. I think it's so important for our democracy. Our democracy is only stronger if everyone, Republicans, Democrats, and independents, fully can engage and participate in our democracy.
I agree with that.
That's
Thank
great.
you, Doris. Thank you. Okay. Mai, this question you get first. In the context of ongoing Islamophobic events, and given Sacramento has a vast Muslim community, how do you plan to address and ensure Sacramento's Muslim community remains protected?
Yeah, I will be a congresswoman for our Muslim community, for our Palestinian communities, for our Jewish community, for all of our communities, for communities that are struggling in this moment. That is my commitment. As a daughter of Hmong refugees, I know, again, like I shared the generational trauma of war, what's happening in the Middle East. I have friends who have lost generation of families, and that's my commitment, centering human dignity, peace, and I will do everything I can to love on and protect our Muslim community and all of our diverse community that's under attack.
Doris.
Is that 20 seconds?
Nope, minute and a half.
Good. I have always believed that we're more powerful if we come together as a diverse community. I was born in an internment camp, as you know, and I know what it means when I see my parents struggle. And they had to go a long time. They knew what it meant to be targeted. I can't stand seeing that today, and I stand up. My office meets regularly with Afghanis, meets regularly with Muslims, meets regularly with Hispanics. We do that. We do that to come together. We handle the refugees. We understand the fear that's in them. So don't tell me that I don't understand. I understand what it means, and I do the work. I do the work. I do it at the federal level, and I do it at the local level.
Okay, next question, Doris. Where do you stand on construction of the Delta Conveyance Project tunnel? And what measures are you willing to take to prevent potential destruction of Sacramento-San Joaquin Delta communities?
That's an interesting question because I've been working on that for years. And it always seems that when we win a little bit, we go back a little bit too. I'm against the construction of the tunnels. We don't need them. We don't need them at all. There are other ways that water can be shipped down, and they don't even need that water. Some of the Metropolitan said that it's too expensive. They don't want to do it. So why are we doing it? That's ridiculous. I really think we should stop when we can.
Mai Vang?
Yeah, I also don't support the tunnels as well. I think there's been a lot of concerns from local residents about damage to habitat, siphoning off billions of waters really to that region, and I support the local residents there. I agree with Congresswoman. I'm in alignment with this, and I don't support that as well.
Agreement. Noted. So, Mai Vang, this one will go to you first. What do you think should be done about the debt? Now, we got lots of questions on this. Voters had a variety of answers, like reverse the current administration's tax cuts for the wealthy, go after waste and fraud in the military-industrial complex, reduce inflation, stabilize the global economy, and stimulate domestic business innovation. But what are your ideas? And are there short-term sacrifices we could make to reduce the national debt?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. A budget is a reflection of our priorities. And if you actually look at our budget, we spend trillions and trillions of dollars on war. I think the first option really is to make sure that we cut back on these endless wars and invest our tax dollars on systems of care. Secondly, I think that we need billionaires to pay their fair share. In this country, we have families, working families, who are struggling to get by, while these big companies, billionaires, are profiting off of the pain and suffering of so many of our working families. You name the industry and they're profiting from healthcare, from housing, from mass data centers. It's so important to make sure that we have regulation and that we actually are taxing these billionaires, because our families are struggling in this moment.
Okay. What was the question again?
It's about the U.S. debt.
Oh, yes. $40 trillion debt.
Yes. What are your ideas, and are there any short-term sacrifices that we could make to reduce the debt, or do you have other
Well,
ideas?
I really believe that, look what happened with Trump. He took $1 trillion, right, from health care and gave it to the pockets of his buddies, right? We can't have that. We can't have that. We need to tax billionaires. I agree with that, but we need a progressive tax system. Warren Buffett said the best. You know what he said? He said that my secretary shouldn't have to pay proportionally more than me. And he was a billionaire, so he understands that. But we really need to do it carefully as possible and make sure that the right people get taxed, and make sure when we go through a process like this that it's sustainable. I really believe that there are ways to do this, but we have to look at ourselves, decide what can we live without. I also believe that the Defense Department has too much money. They have too much money. It's come to the point now when we go to the Defense Department when we want a little research money for health care. It's that bad right now. I'm happy to do that, but they shouldn't be doing that. We should just give it to the health, HHS. So this is what I believe, that we really should reorganize how the budget is put together. We also need to know that we have to work together. The budgets with Trump are ridiculous. We would never pass them.
Okay, Doris Matsui, one of the biggest problems in Congress is that there's so many are out of touch with challenges that everyday people face. The cost of groceries, gas, housing, healthcare, education. What are the main drivers of the affordability crisis, and what can Congress do about it in the next Congress?
Okay, I think all of us know we live here in Sacramento, and the affordability crisis is there. I've always worked thinking about energy. Always work with SMUD to make sure that we get the infrastructure they need, and be able to work with the neighborhood to make sure that they have the ability to have appliances that are much more energy efficient. And I also believe, too, when you look at healthcare, I've started more community health centers so that we can have more affordable health care. And that is really going to be important. And getting more drug discounts for the community health centers. Those are important, too. And we really have to feel that as we move forward, we look at everything here. I mean, we have to look at education. We have to look to see how that would be made more affordable, too. Those are the things we have to do. And I feel that we're going to be on that pathway. I feel it. I go to the grocery store. I see the cost of ground beef, right? Milk. I don't get the half gallon anymore, but it's still expensive, right? So I understand that. And that's, and I used to pinch pennies when I was a 20-year-old, so I understand that.
Mai Vang?
Yeah, Trump actually ran on the agenda of affordability, and he hasn't made our lives better. And even corporate Democrats are running on affordability, but they don't understand the day-to-day struggles of so many of our families. If we actually want to address affordability, we have to fundamentally change our system. That means actually having Medicare for all, and actually alleviating the cost of so many different areas that it's actually like hurting our families. I mean, when you talk about affordability, it's healthcare, it's housing. 3 days from now, so many of us are gonna have to figure out how we're gonna pay rent and mortgage. Families are gonna have to choose between putting food on the table or delaying medical care. These are the issues that our families are dealing in this moment. And all of these issues are influenced by politicians who are bought by corporations who are actually profiting from all of these areas. And so I think one way to address affordability is to actually get money out of politics, to abolish super PAC, and to do everything we can to get corporations out of our policymaking decisions.
You know, healthcare is a place where we really have to look, but we really have to fight now Trump's cuts. We have to reverse them, get the House back so we can reverse those cuts for healthcare and for the nutrition too. Those are the things we have to do. We can look ahead, and I'm looking ahead, because we're going to look at what we make more universal health care. But we can't just say we're going to do Medicare for all and accept that that's going to save money. We don't know that yet.
Yeah,
20 seconds.
Can I respond to that? Because the Congresswoman keeps saying we got to win back the House. I am in absolute agreement. We absolutely have to win back the House. Absolutely. The Congressman and I are in agreement on that. But the question is, what type of Democrats are we going to send back the halls of Congress? Again, they have kept the status quo, and it's so important to make sure that we send a new generation of leaders that's bold enough for a new vision.
Stop. Okay, Mai, what solutions would you advocate to address our district's housing and homelessness crisis?
Yeah. Housing is an incredibly important issue in our community. It's one of the top issues actually facing so many of our families. Housing provides stability, it provides safety for our families. And I think it's incredibly important in this moment to address that issue. I mean, we just talked about affordability, and the cost of housing is one of the biggest part of a family's budget. I believe that we need to invest in we need to invest in a national housing trust fund. That is incredibly important. Expand our income tax credits. Our generation, I often think when we talk about housing, I think about my generation. It is incredibly hard to actually buy a house. The average age of a new home buyer is in their 40s. And it's incredibly hard for my generation in this moment. We have big corporate developers, landlords that are actually profiting from this industry, and I think we have to do more to protect and to build more affordable housing in our country.
Doris?
Yes, in fact. I have been in the district building more affordable housing. You look at Mirasol there, that's permanent affordable housing there. It's a beautiful place, it's in the River District. And I also got money to build a child care center there. And we also going to get a light rail stop there because they're now part of the city. Habitat for Humanity also helped to build an affordable center too. And let me just say, it takes everybody to work together. You just can't say you're going to do it. You have to put things together. You have to get federal funding. You have to make sure you have a nonprofit. You have to talk with the communities. You have to talk with the service providers to see if you can possibly have services around them. This is a situation where you have to work with everybody. You can't work in a vacuum. You need to know that it's going to be difficult, it's going to take money, but you can do it if you bring the right partners together. We just passed a housing bill in the House and also the Congress, the whole Congress. It's probably the best housing bill we've ever had. Republicans and Democrats worked on that. You know, sometimes you got to do that, right? That works.
Can I respond to that?
You have 20 seconds.
Yeah, so let me just respond to that. As a city councilwoman, I work with organizations, nonprofits, SHRA, developers to actually build housing locally. So I actually see how it's actually implemented at the local level, and I know that there are organizations that use multiple different revenue streams to actually build the housing, which is the reason why I think it's important that the national partners also do their part and to make sure we invest in a larger national housing trust fund.
Okay. Okay, Doris.
Yeah.
Regarding the projected 2032 cuts to Social Security benefits that will impact seniors in the district, how will you specifically address this issue? And do you support the funding of Social Security through lifting the cap on wages and taxation of investment income for earners over 400K?
You know, this has been part of the discussion for a long time, but it's coming that we have to address it. And Social Security is so important for so many people in this country. It's an insurance policy for a lot of them. We don't want to cut them at all, but we have to make sure that it's fully funded. And that's why we have to look to see if we have to raise the cap and have wealthy people pay more. Those are the kind of easier solutions that we have to deal with. But we got to start sometime. And I believe now the urgency is there so that we do that.
Yeah, Social Security, that is a guarantee for our seniors. So many of our seniors are on fixed income, and I do support lifting the caps and also making sure that we tax the billionaires to pay their fair share. It is a critical safety net for our seniors, and we have to make sure that it's fully funded.
Okay, we're going to move to the next segment where the candidates will pose questions to each other. You will notice these are not our questions.
So what is the time, what is the, what is the rules on this one?
Okay, you still have a minute and a half to answer the questions. It's kind of a long time. If you can make it shorter, good, but you have a minute and a half. And then you'll also have the 20-second response time. If you want to respond, feel free to do that, and you can go back and forth a little bit. So we're going to begin with Doris. If you would ask your first question.
That wasn't.
There you go. Me too. Okay. Thank you. Oh, take your time.
You tell me that, and I'll call for more. Okay, Councilwoman Vang, according to public records, you missed almost half of the monthly meetings of the Regional Transit Board. You missed 42% of the Air Quality Management Board meetings. You were replaced on the Sacramento Transportation Authority after missing 4 straight meetings. What can you say to voters that you will give them the confidence that you will show up for work if you're elected to represent them in Congress?
Yeah. Look, I do show up for our meetings, and I've been a fighter for this region, showing up and doing the work. You can just ask my constituents in my district. They know I show up. I grew up in the neighborhood that I'm serving in now. I work incredibly hard, and I do show up for our meetings, our Joint Powers Authority meetings, and will continue to do the hard work to deliver for our working families.
Do I have a reaction to that, a response to that?
Yes.
You know, in Congress, you just can't just get meetings. You have to be there. I'm in the Energy and Commerce Committee, and I am ranking on the Communications Technology Committee. I have to be there. I'm on 2 other subcommittees too, and I make sure that whatever it is, I'm going to be at those meetings. It's critical, because if you miss out, you miss out. And I don't miss meetings of the full chamber either.
That's it?
Yep,
Okay.
ready for the next one?
Now it's your turn, Mai Vang. You can ask Doris Matsui your question.
Okay. Congresswoman, this cycle, you have taken over 40,000 from ICE contractors and corporations. How can our immigrant families trust you when your campaign is being supported by the very people and insurance and the companies that are actually profiting from the pain of families through separation?
You know, I keep saying this, that, you know, my parents are taken away from our own taken away by our own government and put in an internment camp. I would not do anything to hurt anybody. So I feel very frankly that to say that is really like, oh, you don't care. I care. I care. I know what my parents went through. I know what my grandparents went through. They had to work hard to start their life again. And so to throw this in my face when I really understand what it means to be a part of this country and honor it and understand what it really means to make sure that people get connected in this country. I feel very strongly about this. People know that, and I understand how it is to bring people together and to bring up something that I am unaware of. And you know, maybe you can check your records more easily than I can, but I have a sense that you have things in your budget too, or your campaign contributions that you're unaware of too.
Can I
20 seconds.
Can I respond to that? I mean, Congressman, do you think elected officials should take money from ICE contractors and corporations? I think that's important.
You know, of course not, but the thing is that, you know, these things are in the Vanguard accounts. They're index accounts. We can't control them.
Oh no, these are contributions to your campaign.
Well, I don't even know who they are. Don't know who they are. I mean, really.
Please, 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 no, please. Okay. Any responses? We'll go to the next question. Okay. You have another question?
I have a question I'm going to ask.
No, you have another question to ask if you want to ask it or if you want to respond
I think she
to
wanted
this.
to respond.
You know,
Please respond.
We can
Yeah.
talk about what's in our campaign accounts forever and ever. But, you know, she can go look at the FEC. And you know what? I can't be bought. You know, I can't be bought by anybody. People know that. I'm supported by working families, by working people. They support me, whether they're firefighters or nurses or teachers, plumbers, electricians. They support me and stand by me.
Mai Vang.
Congresswoman, half of your contribution, more than half of your contribution actually comes from corporate PACs. My contributors, 95% are small individual donors. I mean, if you don't care of taking money and you say that working families and unions support you, would you return all the corporate PAC money that you've received, thousands of dollars? Half of your war chest is actually funded by corporations.
I have to say that, you know, I work really hard, just like you work hard, right? And I make sure that I do the work that's necessary for my constituents. And I have done, I think you know, delivered plenty here. Levies, transit, healthcare. I mean, these are things that are important to people. And I don't do this for any kind, I don't sell out at all for anything at all.
Why don't we have plenty of time? Okay, are you ready to ask your second question?
Oh,
You can ask your second question of Mai Vang, and
Okay.
then Mai, you will have another opportunity for your second question. And
Couns-
the answers, remember, you have a minute and a half to answer if you want to take the whole time, and then after the answers, then you have the responses of 20 seconds. Thanks.
Councilwoman Vang, based on your public statements and city budget votes, what do you think is more important to defund the police than support funding for affordable housing, services for homeless persons, and climate action?
Can you repeat your question again? Or like you're asking about multiple issues?
I'm asking about your votes,
Okay.
because based upon your record, your statements, and city budget votes, why do you think is more important to defund the police than to support funding for affordable housing, services for homeless persons, and climate action?
Look, our budget, our city budget, any budget is a reflection of our values. And since we're talking about law enforcement, look, our public safety system is broken. I am your public safety candidate because public safety to me means making sure families actually live in neighborhoods that they feel safe, that our young people have the opportunities to thrive, that our seniors are housed, and our law enforcement shouldn't be expected to carry all of that weight. When we talk about public safety, it is a multi-terror approach. It takes our nonprofits, it takes our parks. Yes, it takes police and fire. It takes all of us. But we know that a budget is a reflection of our priorities, and I have fought for my constituent, making sure that our city budget actually reflects our priorities. And so I will continue to make sure that we move upstream and actually address prevention, create the conditions for our families to thrive. I've been a fighter for our families in our region, and I will continue to fight, even at the federal level, to make sure that our budget reflects our values, and like we shouldn't be spending trillions of money for endless wars. I will continue that fight at the national level.
Doris,
So how much time do I have here?
20 seconds.
Okay, all I have to say, though, many times you're on the losing part of the vote. And you understand that you're saying that you feel that you can't vote for it because it doesn't have anything about defund the police. But these are things you talk about, it's important. Housing, climate action. And, you know, you look at that and you say, you look good to a certain number of people by saying no because you really do rely upon your other council people to pass.
Mai?
As a city councilwoman, I have actually secured over $40 million for our young people impacted by poverty, violence, and trauma, our parks, our library. There is no city council member that have served 4 years and actually passed 3 citywide ballot measures. I am proud to have led that effort and worked across the aisles with my colleagues. I think it's easy for you to say that because we are still struggling even locally because of the local establishment who actually supports you. So I am not afraid on taking on the local establishment
That's a
and
20
making sure
second.
we fight for our working family.
Mai, it's a 20-second response. Doris, would you like one?
To respond to
Yeah,
that?
do you want to respond to anything?
Right. You know what? It's hard to respond because it's really hard to understand what Mai has actually done. You know, I got a call from the mayor, I guess this was Mayor Steinberg, for me to call the Department of Labor about 102 acres in her district. They needed help for that because they did not have an avenue to get through. And you know, I still don't know what's happening with 102 acres right now because it was supposed to be for housing,
A
right?
response, Mai, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, I am really proud that under our leadership, me and Daryl Steinberg, we were able to secure that property. It was actually vacant and it was blighted under your watch, under the federal government. Had we not taken over that property, we wouldn't be here today. And I'm working closely with the mayor on next step, have done listening session, and we're ready to move on the project.
How long is the listening session going to be going on, though? That's just it. And you know, you're going to have developers come in there if you don't start planning what you want to do.
We are in conversation with the mayor. We already have done an RFI, and we're ready for next steps. And I think it's really disappointing that you don't understand how development actually works, because as a congresswoman, you recently just secured money again for a bridge under the highway, a park, and that has taken many years. And so you should understand actually how development works at the local level.
Are you watching the stop signs? I wasn't. Please watch the stop signs. Okay, you've both asked your questions.
I think I only asked one.
I was looking
No,
at
you
that.
asked.
Did you?
I only asked one.
Okay. I would invite you, please, to ask your second question of Doris Matsui.
Okay. Congresswoman, you have taken money from the very same leading fire and flood insurance companies in our region, the very same companies who are now denying coverage for homeowners, but are still making millions in profit every year. How can voters trust that you will advocate for them when it comes to protecting homeowners in our district like in El Dorado?
I think people who know me know that I'm not for sale at all. I'm not. That's what I work with the people in this community, with working families and working people, to make sure they have the life that they deserve. That is who I am.
You can respond.
Yeah, these very same companies that have denied homeowners fund your campaign. Would you return their donations and their contributions to your campaign?
You know more about the things in my campaign record than anyone else does. I can't believe it. I don't even know what companies you're talking about right now. Some of those companies also do other things, too.
I do think it's incredibly important to know who actually funds your campaign.
Well, then I think we should look at yours, too.
Please. Okay, we have one more question before closing remarks. Okay, one more little question. Let's start with Doris. If you're elected, what is one significant thing that you would fight for first for this district? It's like the most important thing on your mind when you go back to Congress, if you go back.
Well, right now, I'm thinking about health care and those egregious cuts that Trump did for Medicare and Medi-Cal, and those things are even coming down the road. So we have to fight to make sure that we reverse them. At the same time, we understand what it really means to make sure that we get a handle on what's happening in this war. That is bringing us a lot of unaffordability at this point in time with gas prices and what's happening also with the farmers and fertilizers and also the big tariffs too. We can take action on those kinds of things. I know you don't want to hear this, but you need to take the gavel. You need to have that leverage in order to make sure you can pass the bills.
Mai Vang?
When we win back the House, my first priority is to restore all the cuts and harms that Trump has caused. I grew up on Medicaid and food stamps, and we know that there are thousands of families that are going to lose their health care and their food stamp. And so my priority is making sure we restore those cuts. And in addition to that, we need to work with our colleagues and make sure that we pass the most boldest vision for reform in this country. If we don't do that, as Democrats, we're going to lose again. And so my commitment is fighting back Trump, restoring the cuts, but pushing for a bolder vision to transform our country.
Okay.
Okay. Is this closing statement time?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
my turn first?
Yes, and
All right.
it's your turn, and you have a minute and a half.
Okay.
No responses to this.
Okay, I once again want to thank the League of Women Voters and everybody who is here this evening. The contrast between me and my opponent cannot be more stark. I'm a workhorse, not a show horse. I focus on solutions and not slogans. I worked to bring people together to solve the problems that we face. And I want you to judge me on what I've delivered, and also on what I see that we can do in the future. While we have reduced the amount of prescription drug costs, I want to make sure that those reductions go for everyone. I really want to make sure that we do that. And we have to go on offense against Trump to really achieve that totally universal, affordable health care that we need. And as the Sacramento region changes with the 21st century economy, it really needs an infrastructure that changes with it, bringing safer neighborhoods, bringing also smarter transit and jobs that are resilient into the future. Don't believe what my opponent says about me. Believe the people and groups that are supporting me. I'm endorsed by Planned Parenthood, Sierra Club, LCV, Equality California, United Nurses, Building Trades, ASME, the teachers, the firefighters, California Democratic Party, working people, environmentalists, abortion rights, and civil rights people. I hope you join these groups to support me, because the next 2 years are going to be crucial to our nation's future. Thank you.
Mai Vang?
Yeah. First of all, I just, again, want to thank everyone who attended today. I want to thank all the dozens of neighborhood associations that worked together to put on this event. And Paula, thank you so much for facilitating. You know, this race is about more than just one congressional seat. It is truly about the future of this country. Do we want business as usual, or do we want a new generation of leaders? As a city council member, I am no stranger to taking on the establishment and delivering for working peoples. Despite being outspent in the primaries from 3-1, despite my opponent loaning herself $1.4 million, we not only made top 2, but we actually came in first. We came in first because this region is ready for change. After this debate is over and families go home, so many families are still going to have to carry the weight of figuring out how to pay their bills. Families are going to have to choose between putting food on the table or delaying medical care. And again, like I shared with you, 3 days from now, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to pay the next rent and mortgage. I am the only candidate on the stage that actually understands the day-to-day struggles of so many of our working families. If you want a candidate that will fight for you and your families, I am your candidate. If you want someone who will respond to you, I am your candidate. If you want someone that will actually show up and do town halls, not because they have an opponent, I am your candidate. I am so proud of the work that we've done in the primaries, and I'm so excited to build on that momentum. They may outspend us 3-1, but we have the many, and I'm so excited for more people to be engaged in our campaign. Go to myforus.com today, tap in, and let's take this home in November.
Now, please. Gosh, I was just going to say now it's time to clap, and you spoiled it. Now, it's time to thank Doris Matsui and Mai Vang. Thank you, Doris. Thank you.